What is it like to learn kanji? So, for those who don't know, there are like 2100 of kanji, which Japanese people use, and learners have to learn in order to understand Japanese fully, or at least fully. And they are divided into 5 levels based on difficulty and frequency usage by Japanese people. Starting with N5, which is the easiest one, and even the kanji don't have as much strokes and are quite easy to learn. For example, this, and ending with N1, which is the hardest one. It has like 1000 kanji, so it is half of the whole deck, and the kanji there have more strokes and are difficult to learn. For example, this. So for learning, you will want to use some database. I use Kanji Study, which is the best app on learning kanji, but it is paid. It costs like $15 to $20, so not everybody can afford it or want to pay for learning. So you can also use this site, which I linked in the description. It is not the best, but it's free. You want to also be learning vocabulary, so words that use the kanji at the same time, because otherwise it will be useless to learn the kanji alone if you don't know any words. And you want to be doing immersion, so reading some manga or watching anime with subtitles in Japanese. So basically consuming Japanese content and reading Japanese to learn the kanji and to revise the words, readings, and everything. So let's get into different levels. N5 is, as I said, the easiest one. You can learn it within a week, and it could take longer, but if you learn precisely and revise enough, you will have it within a week. The kanji there have the least amount of strokes, and when you learn it, you know the most used kanji in Japanese. With N4, the difficulty becomes quite higher. There are like 200 kanji, and each of them has more strokes than N5, so they will be harder to remember. But it could take like 2, maybe 3 to 6 weeks, depending on how much and how often you are learning kanji. Also, with this level, I recommend you to get a pen and notebook and start writing them, and also making a revise schedule. So you will be learning 5 to 10 new kanji every day. And what you want to do is to mark them and to revise them every time they need to be revised. So every time you revise them, you see how well you remember them, and depending on that, you will select the next date they will be revised. It is quite difficult. I do that and a lot more for you in my full Japanese course for beginners, which is the first link in the description, but you can also make it on your own. I recommend you to make one because otherwise you won't remember the kanji and the learning will be useless and you would get frustrated and all of that. And 3 is probably the same difficulty as N4, but there are 400 kanji, so it could take quite longer to learn, maybe 1 to 2 months, maybe even more, depending on how often you learn. And it shows if you are really determined to learning all of the 2000 kanji. Also with that, you will get to more advanced level and you will start being able to learn Japanese text or watch anime without subtitles or with Japanese subtitles. Not the hardest ones, but you will get quite good. With N2, the frequency quite drops, so you don't see the kanji from N2 as often as the kanji from N3. And also there are more difficult and the meanings are more complex, so it's quite harder to remember them. But with learning N2, you will be considered Jozu, so good at Japanese, and you will be further than most of the Japanese learners. N1, which is the second half of learning 2000 kanji, there are maybe 1200 of kanji, maybe less, maybe more, and it could take half a year to learn. If you learn a lot, it could take less, but it is the hardest part on learning kanji. They are really difficult, they have a lot of strokes, sometimes over 20, and often you will have to search up the meaning of the kanji, even if English is your native language. But with the done, you have learned the 2000 kanji, which you need to be fluent in Japanese, or at least fluent, and you will be better than 99% of the learners. So, that is everything for this video. I'd appreciate if you would like and subscribe, and goodbye.